Welcome to the B Shifter podcast. You've got John Vance here, along with Chris Stewart, and a very special guest today. Jarrett Tarver is here. Jarrett is a captain with the Sedona Fire District in Arizona. He's a new blue card instructor. He's getting certified at the AVBCTC as an instructor this week, and we wanted to take the opportunity to sit down with Jarrett and talk to him about Brett Tarver, his brother, and his career and what he's learned so far, and just kind of get to know him. As Chris was saying before we went on, you know, we know a lot about the incident, but we want to know more about your brother. So we are very honored to be able to sit down with you, learn more about Brett, learn what the incident meant to you and your family, and get to know really Brett without. I've never met him. Chris has had the opportunity to meet him. So hopefully that would be a good opportunity for our listeners today to get to know who Brett was. So thanks for being here today, Jarrett.
It's an honor to be here.
Tell us, first of all, just a little bit about yourself. You've been with Sedona for about 23 years?
24 and a half years.
Okay, 24 and a half years.
I'm a company officer in Sedona.
Okay.
I started my career right before 2001, March 14th. So I was kind of getting my feet wet into the fire service, following Brett and my other older brother's footsteps.
That's not a horrible place to have to work in Sedona.
No, it's beautiful.
Yeah, no lie.
So Sedona for 24 and a half years. I've been doing the fire service for about 28 now, reserve time and everything, and want to keep growing. I want to, that's why I'm here this week. I want to become one of our instructors. I believe in the program. I believe in what Blue Card is trying to do for the nation and for our fire service.
Well, Blue Card users are very familiar with Brett because of the incident and the recovery period that the Phoenix Fire Department went through. Following that, a very extensive period of recovery, and it was a process that was shared with the entire American fire service at the time. So let's get to know Brett a little bit before we talk about the incident maybe and really what the recovery process did for you and your family. Who was Brett, and what was he all about?
So Brett was number 2 out of 6. So older brother, and then Brett was number 2, and Brett was the, how do I describe Brett? He was kind of the overwatcher of the family. He was just a very caring, took care of us, the younger 3. Brett, we all looked up to Brett. Brett, it was such a humble heart, such a big teddy bear, and I know that might sound weird about, my brother. That's how I look at him, man. He was such a idol in my life. I always looked up to Brett. He was a great family man. He had, his 3 daughters. I mean, that was his life. And Brett started us into the fire service. Brett, came from a construction kind of background and moved into fire. He got hired in at Sun City at his first start of his career, and it kind of set that path for us to, man, that looks like a pretty neat job. So he would give you the shirt off his back. He was a big man, but he was humble heart, kind, gentle person.
I always heard he played football. Was he a football player in college or high school, or what was his athletic background?
So Brett was a state wrestling champion. I think he played a little football. I can't recall on that one, but I know he was big into wrestling, and I know he did some boxing for a little bit. Nothing tournament or nothing wise, but real athletic. Brett he had the mindset of, if you're gonna do it, don't waste your time, but go for it. If it's something that you want, go for it. So it resonated in all of us growing up, watching our older 3 brothers succeed and become the men they were. So when you grow up having that role model, when he wanted it, he went for it, and he usually succeeded. Very smart, very hard worker, dedicated to what it was that he wanted, and knew what he wanted. He went for it. And
what got him interested, and really all your family, the members that are in public safety with your department, or with your family rather, what got you guys interested in the fire department?
So I apologize, I cannot remember the gentleman's name that worked for Sun City Fire. He was a neighbor of ours.
Yeah.
And that was the time in transition when Sun City was going to, from, I think it was rural metro, and they were moving to building Sun City Fire.
Yeah.
And so our neighbor went down to his chief and said, I have a guy that needs to be a fireman with this department. And that's kind of what it took a little bit, a little nudging. Brett was a contractor. He was kind of doing his own thing. And he tested, went down, got hired, and went through the academy.
Yeah,
and
we're talking like late 80s, early 90s, if I remember right.
It was, I do believe it was, late 80s.
Yeah, like
late
88,
80s.
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was
88.
remembering. Yep.
He he went through the academy, went through Phoenix's academy with Sun City,
Yeah.
and succeeded. I think he was top cadet in that academy, and honored his shirt that he got sent for, which was Sun City, and went to work for Sun City. So, seeing the success that he achieved from getting into that career, and then really truly trying to understand it herself. I was still pretty young at the time, and what it meant to him. Like, just to serve, just to be a good person and get out there and help your community and be a part of that, and watch him grow in that part. And then the camaraderie he was building with his crews and the guys that we started meeting, some of the names out there that we know still from that, getting his feet in the door at Sun City. But it was almost how do I say it? He had this thorn in his side that he wanted to work for Phoenix Fire. I want to work for the best. And I just said a little while ago, when he wanted it, and it was in his mind, he's going to go for it, and he's going to achieve it. So very short time that he was with Sun City, he became an engineer. And then I do believe right at the sort of the transition when he got into the second academy for Phoenix, he was on their captain's list, and but that still didn't hold him back. He still wanted to work for Phoenix Fire. So to answer back to your question, John, what got us going was my second brother that followed suit. He got hired in Chino, just north of Prescott, and saw the writing on the wall too with the career. He was working for the city of Prescott and digging ditches and he saw the writing of it, what kind of a job can this be, and looked into it, got hired, and became a fireman for Chino Valley. So bumped that down a few more years. I remember getting on with the reserve. My brother Sean kind of did the same thing. He's like, you ought to look into this.
This is before Chino become part of the Central Arizona
Yes.
and all that, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay.
This was still Chino Fire,
Yep.
and Central was still their own deal.
Got it.
And so I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm a young kid. I'm still doing construction, and I wanted to be a contractor. I wanted to build homes for a living. And construction's up and down. So Brett was a contractor too, and he saw that. He had girls coming. He's got babies. He's got married. He's got I want to get a home. I need stability, but I like the freedom of the schedule. Right, that's what firemen say. The retirement in the schedule. So as I'm now building homes and kind of following suit, I remember I'll never forget this. I was sitting on a roof right down from Station 1 in Chino, framing a roof, sheeting a roof. And I remember already having those conversations with my brother Sean about pushing me into the fire service. And I remember the bays coming up, the apparatus coming out, lights on, code 3, there they go, blown up by our construction site. And it just kind of set the hair in the back of my neck going, man, that looks really intriguing. So then I started diving into it, got on a reserve with Chino, and started playing. I was at the time, Chino was just taking reserves, and they were sending us to get our EMTs and our Fire 1 and 2s certifications. So the thing about a volunteer or a reserve program, we could have a whole conversation on the feelings, the mixed feelings of that stuff, right? I will tell you right now, in being able to bring myself up and be a part of that system in a reserve or volunteer or donating your time to serve, it not only gave me a good sense of feeling in myself, but is it what I really want to do? I didn't just spend all this time, get hired somewhere and say, this isn't for me, I'm out. And that you guys sent me through, or, the department sent me through an academy and put some money into me and outfitted me. And now I'm like, it's not my forte. So I got to start my career in fire as a reserve, and then that's where it took off. I started get my classes, get more involved, really starting to run calls with the full-time guys, and it got in my blood. And then I really started to feel what Brett was doing, you know. So then my twin brother, he'd moved to Alaska, became, you know, to do anything in Alaska, and same thing. He was doing a lot of his fire department, Capital City in Juneau. He was doing a lot of their rescues. So they would call him up. He was a river guide. So they would call him up. He would take his raft out and he would go do recoveries. And then he was working for an outfit, on a tour guide outfit he was teaching their fire extinguisher stuff for the offices and all. So it kind of transitioned to this, and why don't you just come to work for us? You're already doing our job, you know. So he dabbled into it. And it's crazy is he got hired 6 months before I did full time.
Wow. And
I was actually hired. I got picked up in Sedona in February as SCR, shift cover reserve, and I was waiting for a really good, respected captain that was retiring. So I was just kind of in that holding area. And Chino Valley was picking me up July 1st, and then all of a sudden I get picked up in Sedona June 22nd. So it was kind of cool. They pushed for it. Some of the guys on the floor, you know, and had my back. So I didn't turn down the job. I took the first job that offered, and I went to work for Sedona, and I've never looked back.
And was that in 2000 or
2002?
2002.
Yeah,
okay.
2002.
Okay.
And it was a opportunity that, man, I've never looked back. I fell in, got into it. I loved working in northern Arizona. I loved working with a department such as Sedona that's real progressive. I mean, we try to, we can always do better in SOPs and everything else, right? Training. But I mean, we're always trying to stay on that foresight of what's the new, what's the greatest, what's the best way to learn. I mean, here I am 24 and a half years on the job. I could retire, and I'm down here doing blue car train the trainer because I believe in growing our people.
Right.
And we have a change in culture coming, and we are going through that, right? And we need to train these people. We need to give them the new, what's out there, what's best. Look at the cancer protocols, and look at the stuff. We didn't do that stuff 20 years ago, you know. And what is that? We're learning, and we're able to progress. We have to be able to progress and get out of these ways of this is the way we do it. This is how we do it. This is why do we do it? We talked about that today in class. Why? The why. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, that's kind of how that rolled into fire. So the four of us out of the six, one went on, got his master's. He's a computer nerd and making way more money than I'll ever see. And then my oldest brother stayed as a contractor and still lives in the valley here. And I believe you asked me a little piece of what this had an effect on my family. I mean, you can go. I can answer this in many ways.
Go for it.
You can answer it however you want.
It's it was hard. It was very hard. It was difficult. I remember the day I got the phone call when it happened. That day of 2001. I was coming off a construction job and I was opening up a bar as a bartender. And I remember getting a phone call from a friend, and that's kind of where it started. I still didn't believe it. It's my brother. It's kind of what we're talking about today in class, John. That's my brother. He's fine. It's not going to happen to my brother. That mentality. Like, it's not going to happen to us. So, long story short, we come down, we go to the hospital where he was transported, and then it hit. And then I will tell you the effect. How do you describe what it does to a mother? She lost her son, a son that we're all loved equally. We all are big and close. It did drive us closer, so that's the thank God on that, right? Sometimes this does separate people and push people away or whatever you want to say. This drew us even closer, but it was a void. It was a void for a very long time, and it was a little difficult to. I mean, you couldn't turn on a channel for months without hearing Brett Tarver's name. But I never looked at it in a disrespectful or nothing like that. It was an honor for me to hear it, But for me, what helped me, and I'll be straight, I almost backed out of the fire service. I wasn't scared, but I'm like, that has happened to him. This could happen. I mean, I I was talking to one of the members in the class yesterday, and I remember, you have this thing like, it's not going to happen to me. My brother was 40 years old when this accident happened, and I'm 51. I'm 24 and a half years on the job, and I've made it 11 years past my brother. But there was an eerie feeling there for the first part of my career. Like, March 14th coming up, and maybe I shouldn't go to work today. Resonating, trying to build that commonality of like, but I made it 11 years, And I do believe, I really do truly believe, because I had the opportunity, and my department asked me that if, would you be willing to take on the Save Your Own program? You have a piece to this that we can't bring to the table. Obviously, the closeness of it. And I said, I'd be an honor to. And back then, in early 2000s, that Save Your Own, the Rick outside, the whole rapid intervention teams, that was still a big thing, right? So it was an honor for me. So the first thing I did was I had the opportunity to come down to Phoenix, sit with Chief Harms, who was running some of that, attend some of your guys' reading smoke classes when you're bringing crews in, because that was a big thing. There's so much in this fire that even if you look back to the footage of 24 years ago now, and you watch those videos, I still have all the news footage tapes that Phoenix gave us stacks of. And you watch those tapes, there's so much in those tapes that you can get out of it on building construction, on fire behavior, on smoke conditions, on access, egress, all that stuff. There's not just the Mayday section, right? That is a huge part of this, but there's more in that I could get out of that fire and learn from. And matter of fact, my second year on the job, I was just off probation. In my second year, we get popped for a second in on a lumberman's fire, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm in a big building, big old metal building, trim sections were all in metal wrapped, So we get called in, we're second in. And you when you look at line of duties, you start to see those things where you start to see recognizing those problems and seeing those problems and why weren't these things starting to get addressed. Well, the same thing was kind of lining up on the lumberman's fire, and I had the opportunity with the knowledge that I had by going through some of that process and learning from that fire. First thing we do, I was assigned to tag the hydrant, our engine. So I get out, I tag the hydrant blows 3 foot off the ground, lands on the side. Somebody had hit it, and it broke off and basically lands on our feet. Our LDH going to the Charlie. We're second in engine. We're going to Charlie, and this thing's ripping. So I'm 2 years on the job. I look at my captain and like, is this supposed to happen? What do you do? And so those, and those things start to add up. Well, then our assignment was to set up for defensive, but we were going to make entry in Charlie. So when going in Charlie in that building, you had to go through a trim center. That's where they kept all their oak trim and their base and their case and all that. So we get signed to go in, and I remember going in and breaching the back door in that place, and I remember the paint section and all that was on the right-hand side, and that's where it started. And I was behind my captain. It was just myself and my captain going in. And guys, it's 2 o'clock in the morning at a lumber store. Yeah. What are we doing? I remember, I will never forget this, when we breached that door and we went in and just got hit with all that just thick, nasty black smoke and heat. The heat was unbelievable. And then you're starting to hear stuff kind of explode and aerosol cans, and we're probably 5-10 feet in the door, maybe, inch and 3/4, this giant building. And I tapped my captain on the shoulder. I said, man, I will go to hell and back with you. I will. I'll follow my orders. I will. But I said, what are we doing? Like, what are we saving? It was so hot. It was, and he's like, I'm glad you said it. We backed out, and we started setting up and gave that report and started setting up for defensive. But it was recognizing by learning from that event that I started to see signs that, like, we're risking a lot here for nothing. So I hope that answered your question.
Oh, that certainly did.
So I got a question. So how How challenging was it for you to enter into the fire service? You know, you're 10 months after your brother died, right?
Yeah.
So 10 months. So you're coming in. That obviously your last name is known now to the American Fire Service, right? And they're aware of who you are and what connection you have now to the fire service. How challenging is that for you as an individual coming in there, going to work in Sedona?
You know, I don't know if it was a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was more of I wanted to write my own path.
Mm-hmm.
So fortunately for me, it wasn't like getting hired with Phoenix where you're filling somebody's shoes because of the event.
Yeah.
I already kind of had my name. I was already a reserve. I was already doing my stuff. So the department already knew me. A lot of people already kind of knew me in my department.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you're 100% right. Our name was our name. But there was a time, like I said earlier, I was gonna hang up the coat. This isn't. I don't know if this is what I want to really do now. I was. I'll be honest, scared.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah. I didn't want to leave my mom with another one. You know, but something. A few weeks went by, months maybe, and something snapped. I said, "Man, this is not what Brett wants you to do. You continue on with what you believe in your heart, you know." And that's what I did. I embraced it. I learned from it. Again, I used his name. I don't want to say it like that. I took the opportunity of learning from that fire to build from, to learn from, to grow from, but not to use as a crutch or to use as an excuse. Does that make sense?
Makes complete sense.
It was not hard for me to transition and continue to grow in that service because I saw what it did for him. I saw what it did for his family. I saw the full heart he had serving not only Sun City but Phoenix, and he was so proud to be a Phoenix fireman. He loved it. I asked him one time, "You going to promote?" "No, I'm fireman." You know, and he just loved it. He was an engineer already at Sun City. He was on the captain's list. He's like, "I want to be a fireman. I want to be a medic fireman." And he loved Engine 14. And that crew, again, going through Sun City, we're younger. We used to go down and have dinner with them, play basketball, got to know the crews. And then it started happening when he went to 14. And, you know, same thing. We'd come down, we'd go to dinner, we'd sit with Cy and all his crew. And it was just the family aspect of it was they never once looked at you like, "Oh, man, there's visitors are here." Phoenix, man, that crew would just open our door. They'd serve food. They would, you know, we'd all jump in and help them clean. "I know, sit down." You know, but it was just so welcoming.
That was a little station to put a lot of people in.
Especially big old Tarvers, you know. But it was such a warm heart and a warm feeling from a department and from a crew that we barely knew them. But because they believed in Brett and Brett was one of their family, that we were their family. You know what I mean? That camaraderie, that just that sense of feeling like you're welcomed. And that was another thing that kept me going with it because it's like, man, how many times do you get to share what we do with people that don't understand what we do? And we are the only ones that understand in an aspect that we know what we do, right? We live it. We're the ones running the calls. We're the ones out there. And it's sometimes hard to relay what we do with somebody. When we bounce so much stuff off of each other at our station, man, we solve so many problems at the table.
Problems we have no business trying to solve, yes. But we're trying to solve it, right?
If Chief would just let us do it, we'd be fine.
The world would be perfect.
But it was that embrace, that family, that team that just kept. I came from sports too. I played football. I played basketball, baseball. And that's what the fire service felt like. There wasn't a hard transition to be a part of something, to be a member of a team. It isn't Captain Tarver showing up. I rely on my crew so much. I got guys that are so specialty in items that I don't even pretend to know what they know. I allow my guys to take that and run with it because we rely on each other. And, I mean, we can sit around a table and we can joke, we can laugh, we can discuss, wow, we could have done that a little better. but we're the hardest people on ourselves too, though, right? So I saw that, and I wanted that to be a part of my life. My wife, we've been together 25 years, been married 23. We have 4 boys, and my wife is also in the fire service.
Okay.
She's 14 years now. She's worked for Copper Canyon, which is right there out of Camp Verde. She's in the administration building, so she's on the dark side.
Hey, you need her for your checks, though, too, right? Yeah.
So she actually, it was an honor. She did work for our department for about 4 years. So it was kind of cool having my wife working with us, you know, but certain things, just life, she went back down to Copper Canyon and is doing great down there. But I'll tell you, it's so nice to have a wife who has built my resumes, helped me test, helped me promote, helped me, you know, I mean, my kids succeeded because of my wife. You know what I mean? It was both of us, but you know what I mean? It's like she was just so part of everything that we did together, but to understand the fire service. So she knows how whiny firemen can be. She knows, you know, and so it's nice because she worked for a different department. Well, we can come home and I'm like, hey, babe, how was your day? And she'll tell me a little bit, you know, not confidential stuff and all, but we talk. And or she'll bounce stuff off me like, what do you think about this? And I'm like, I'll tell her my mind, you know, but then I do the same with her because that HR piece, administrative piece, that sometimes we don't have an insight into, I guess you could say, in the aspect of how would HR or how would an administrative look at this? I have an issue going on with a personnel or whatever, and I bounce stuff off her all the time, and she's so good about turning my like, sometimes I want to just put people, hang them on their coat, you know, and hang them on the wall and just let them sit there for a while. But she talks me down off the ledge, and she gives me a whole different perspective and a different way to look at it.
Yeah.
So having someone on my team that understands the fire service, works in the fire service, it's an absolute dream too. My brother Jason, he's my twin brother. He's the one that works for Capital City. He's got 1 year left. He's been on almost 25 years. He got hired 6 months prior to me, and he did the same thing. He got in with Juno. He's our ARF truck, and he's had a heck of a career, you know. And I'll tell you guys, in 2005, my brother Sean, my brother Jason, and myself all got Firefighter of the Year.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And it wasn't. I don't know
all
if
in three unique places.
All three in different in Juneau, Alaska, in Prescott, and in Sedona. And I got Firefighter of the Year for Lumberman's Fire. Sean got it, and then my brother got it. We got it all in the same year. Isn't that crazy? I'm like, was there some phone calls made here, or what's going on? You know, but it's just little things like that. So I can get back to kind of talking about the day. You know, I remember. I remember coming down, going through. I do want to say this. My heart is so full with the way that Phoenix Fire treated us and what they did for the family, and not only the family for us immediately, but to the brothers that were there that day, to the service for the whole department. I've never witnessed anything like it since. I hope I don't have to in that aspect. But, you asked the question today in class, John, that resonated with me. And it's like, how would your department handle this? We went through Maydays today. And I've said that to myself for 24 and a half years. How would my department? And it would crush us. But then I can't compare it to what I saw from Phoenix, because what Phoenix did was it was amazing. I don't even know how to explain it. So I always ask that question. We're a small department, and I 100% guarantee they would take care of my family, and I guarantee they would help it, and I guarantee all that. I'm not saying anything, but it's like, I don't know if any of you guys hunt, but you take your son out and he shoots a trophy bull that first time ever hunting, and you're like, you'll never shoot a bull like that again, or an animal or whatever. And that's kind of what it was like. I mean, I witnessed a funeral, the whole thing that was breathtaking. And I can't compare that to anything, but those are some of the things that you know what I mean? So the relationship between what I learned, how I do it, and trying to always answer those questions, because the hardest thing for me going through Brett's fire was talking to the people involved. And I have noticed, and this is not a punt, nothing like that, but what it did to how they felt, people breaking down in tears for my brother was so, I don't know how to even explain the impact that had on me, because it wasn't fake. It wasn't it was real. And so all those perspectives of everything that I've got out of that fire, I had the chance to drive to Colorado Springs for the memorial. This is another little story I'll tell you guys. So we get invited up to the memorial, and myself, my sister-in-law, my mom, we pick up Mom, and we're going to drive to Colorado Springs. So we do. A couple days in advance, we meet Robin, and all of them are already in the route up there. So we get up there, and like my brother Sean and his wife were going to fly up later, and then my brother Matt was going to fly up later. And all of my other brothers were flying in from other states. So we drive, we get to Colorado Springs, and it's a firefighter party. I mean, and truly it is. It's great hanging out with people, everybody that's there for it, the whole thing. It was great. And I remember sleeping in my brother's basement, and I get a phone call from him, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm sleeping. It was a long night." And he goes, "Turn on the news." I said, "I don't watch news. I'm good. I'm going back to bed." He goes, "No, get upstairs and turn on the news." So I run upstairs, and I remember walking upstairs. News was already on. My mom had turned it on, and she's crying at the table. And I'm like, I still have no idea what's going on, but 9/11's going on. And I'm in Colorado Springs for memorial for my brother. My mom's at the table. She's bawling her eyes out, poor thing, and I just gave her a hug. But I'm like, "Mom, what's wrong?" And she goes, "Do you know what today is?" I said, "Yeah, it's Wednesday," or what, She goes, "No, it's Brett's birthday." Brett's birthday was 9/11/60. Wow. Is that not crazy? Again, one of those little things that you just don't think about. And I never put it together, man. And here we are in Colorado. All flights get shut down. Family members can't make it. You guys remember that whole deal. And I'm in Colorado Springs for a memorial that we were able to attend, because a lot of it had to change. A lot of the guest speakers, all that stuff were shut out, So we were still able to attend. It was still a beautiful ceremony. I was still honored to be there. But we're in Colorado for a memorial for my brother. 9/11's happening, and it's his birthday. So it's surreal, So there's always something out there. There's still pieces of stuff that you get from 24 years ago.
You told me something earlier that I didn't even realize, that March 14th, 2001, when this happened, Engine 14 wasn't even in service when the call came out. I didn't realize that. Tell us about them going back in service, and just because I think the spirit of it is these were folks who cared about the job. They wanted to go fight the fire, and they got back in service as fast as they could.
You bet. So the way I understand it is that engineer Large, or Dana, they had some maintenance or something she had to get done on 14, so she went down to get it done. Well, Brett and the crew, Captain, everybody, Higgins, everybody stayed at the station. They worked out, did whatever they were doing, and she was just going to run down and get whatever it was, get a light bulb or whatever it was. Well, tone goes out for the dumpster fire. I think is what it came out as, dumpster fire.
Yep.
And Engine 25 was dispatched. 14 is out of service, which would have been 14's first two, correct?
Correct.
So Dana hears the stuff. She's on her way back, calls the station, says, "Hey, there's a fire right down the road. I'm almost there. I'll pick you guys up." 14 or I apologize, 25 gets on scene. They're doing their thing. They pull a line to the dump or to the. They ends up being a debris fire, and 14 shows up and they're assigned to Ace Hardware and the beauty salon and the clothing store. So right there, you think of the stars, your lucky stars. Like what would have happened if 14 was first in? I mean, you can't question those things, right? You can say what if. So again, those kind of things. So yeah, they picked up. I mean, they're not going to turn down a fire. We're heading out. So they did. They parked out of the way. I think Engine 3 had made it on scene close to the same time, and they get told to go in and start checking for extension. Again, thinking that building had gone all the way back. Mm-hmm. So then they wrap around and go in through Southwest. And there were things. I don't want to say. These are the things that I've just heard through it, learned from it, tried to understand from it. So I don't ever want to state anything that, because I know that Phoenix Fire did an unbelievable job with this process. And, just little things that I'd pick up by talking to people or whatever, like your guys' new or Phoenix's policy about business owners or managers have to meet fire personnel on Alpha side. And I think one of the things I heard on this was the manager of the store went back to the back room. I think it was a propane bottle, is what I was told. Grabbed just a 5-gallon, the propane, and walked out front, sat it down, and just kept walking. Walked right past fire. I mean, what would that have changed, right? What would that change? You walked out, and the business will say, "Hey, there's fire coming in my back door." They would have been, because what I understand is 14 went in. They start checking for extension. They get smoke. They get, they start seeing it as it's extended from the outside fire to the inside fire. So they now have to go back out to gear up their hose. They're already in gear. They're masking and stuff like that, but they now have to go get gear to go back in to fight fire. So, and I do believe they pulled it all off Engine 3, correct? They extended it off from Engine 3.
Yes, I believe that to be true. So, I mean, their engine's parked out of the way. They're just, so they're pulling all their stuff off Engine 3, which that wanted to change nothing. Now the tactics, right? We don't go in too deep. We don't get in too deep. I mean, those things are changed because of that. So knowing my brother, I mean, I talked to my brother multiple times about some of the calls he got to experience and run with Phoenix. How was your shift? He was a zombie walking around. He got beat up all night or whatever. And I just remember how enthusiastic he would be about fires. And, man, we got in there and we, like most of us get. And I could only think about them hitting that door, getting in the worst smoke conditions and going to work and doing what he loved to do, and never looking back, going, man, we're in there. This is what we do. We got a worker. You know what I mean? And so it makes me proud in my heart that he was where he wanted to be, man. He was with his crew. He was fighting fire. Obviously, those circumstances that came from it, or it was a bad day. And so those were the little things that kind of started, adding up to pieces of the equation going, the way it did. Is that kind of where you wanted to? Yeah. So you're Captain Tarver now.
Yes, sir.
Right? And so you have the responsibility of being a company officer. You've got now the responsibility, where you've had the responsibility of doing training inside your organization, and now you're doing this as in addition to that responsibility. What are the things that your history, your connection to your brother, your connection to the incident, how is that like driving and changing and leading how you are now as an officer, as a trainer, as a leader?
I'll say first off, more responsibility. Correct? Is that,
yeah.
More responsibility comes more, or what? How do they say that? What I'm talking about.
Yeah, as you move up, you get more responsibility. Yep.
So I am responsible for a crew. All right, that's how I look at it. But how we fix that? How I look at it is we train. We're on the same page. We build our toolbox. to mitigate hopefully the situation. We don't all know the situation we get into, but we build that. And how do we do that? We train. So my passion, I think it was you I was talking about today, but there's this old saying that it used to bug me, that if you can't do it, you teach. If you can't do, you teach. Yeah. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard that or not.
Those who can't teach, or those that can't do, teach. Those who can't teach Jim.
Yeah.
Yes. That's how that is.
Yeah. Yes. And that always bugged me. It absolutely, where that came from, I have no idea, because I'm telling you right now, the opportunity, not only did I get to teach Save Your Own because of Brett's Fire and learn from Brett's Fire, it gave me an opportunity to bring what I've learned back to my department so that we can start mitigating issues that we might or face in our department. And ours, first off, is water supplies and resources. We don't have Phoenix's resources. So we have to train on that. And and I love being a part of the training, because training gives you the opportunity. You have your specialties that you like. That was one of my big special. I love teaching that class. I was so involved with it, and I wanted to learn, and I was going across the nation trying to learn more and more and more about people that have had liner duties or Maydays, and learn what they did and what techniques they're using and what's the latest grade, and all that stuff. And being able to bring that back to my small department and growing our people's knowledge. So it fills my heart to do that, because I'm giving back. But then as you grow up, like we were just saying, we get into more responsibility, we promote, we even, grow up in the years of our service. We now have what? We have experience. So just being able to pass on that experience, you know what I mean? Like, I raised my kids. You may not want to take this road. I've been down that road. I know where you're heading, and then they yell at you and they get mad at you, but and so that's what teaching has given me. Not only is that, but how many times have you been asked to teach something that maybe it's something you haven't I'll use an example right now. Remember this one, sandwich covers. Okay? We all know what they are. We know they're tarps. They're folded up there's ways to fold them and all that. So I was asked to do a couple Pro Bs were at the station. They want to go over salvage. Man, I had to go read the book real quick. I know it's salvage. I know it's so small, but it's something that we don't. I touched them in the academy. This is just an example, but training and teaching gives you it gives you the opportunities to work and dabble in stuff that maybe you aren't comfortable in, maybe you need more training and experience in. And where can we do it best? In a controlled environment, in a training situation. So, vent. We don't vent. We just don't have personnel to get people on roofs, and we vent, but it's very far down the priority list. So when I'm asked to go do a vertical ventilation at the academy, man, I kind of have to dabble back in the books and go, man, I hope, and then try to learn and see what some of the techniques are. And look, I try to stay up on that stuff, but
sure.
You know what I mean? It gives you the opportunity to kind of get out of your own comfort zone, because now, you got all these little birds that you're feeding worms to and growing them. And I don't want to sound like, hey, we never do this. You don't need to do that. No, we need to know how to do this. We need to know how to do it right and safe. So it teaches me again. It reinvigorates me to get more involved and expand more knowledge, not just what I'm passionate about, and kind of spread out. So I think just as a company officer, back to your question, and being able to embrace growing my knowledge. I'm in a 5-day class today, or this week, I'm sorry, to do that, to be better. Not that I have any anticipation to test for battalion or anything, but why not be prepared, and why not understand the system better? And how do I do that? I take the program, I learn, I build my tool chest. I now can understand what they mean on that transfer or command with me, which I have the base of, and I know, but it helps me, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Hey, Chief, you missed this, or you know what I mean? So training gives me the opportunity to give back, give my experience, my knowledge, and then it also helps me build my tool chest. So
I'm curious, like today's Thursday, that's day 4 of our Train the Trainer class, and that's May Day, right? So, and it really is the why of Blue Card, and it's the why this incident command system, post 2001 is we do the things. The reason we do the things that we do, the reason the system is the way it is. What is it that you took away today? So you had the first 3 days kind of the building up in the system and in the Blue Card system and being IC1 and or IC2, and then now we throw Maydays onto it. And today tends to be what we would refer to as for a lot of students it's a light bulb moment. It's like, oh, now I understand why this was so important on day 2. Now I understand why these what they seem like small elements, like why do you want me to use this order model? Why do you want me to utilize these tickets to communicate on the radio? All those things we're putting it all together and we're doing Maydays. I'm curious what you took away from the week and then maybe today specifically.
The system. I think Blue Card offers a system that we vitally have needed. We were talking earlier in class this week that we used to get all kinds of different size-ups. The first engine would go in and we'd get Type A construction with multi-story, 3,000 square foot, and everybody's like, what's a Type A? So it cleaned all that up to me. So when I had my opportunity to first go through the simulators and all that with Blue Card, I'll be honest, there was a little, I don't want to say pushback. There was like, what are we doing now? Something else that's coming.
Yeah.
The chief's going to put this on us, and now we got to go with this, and it's not going to last, but 6 months, and we're back where we were, But I tell you, if you are just step back and be humble enough to let the system and allow to learn from what they're trying to teach you with this program and understand what it is they're trying to do, because I 100% I believe that Phoenix Fire and Chief Brunacini didn't put the amount of money and work and effort into a system like this to not see it work and to believe that it was going to fail. What I've seen from it is it cleaned up. It's got us all talking the same language at my department. When engine 1 shows up or engine 2 shows up, their size ups, you know what you got, you know what they're doing, you know what they're going to do and where they're going to be. Where we sometimes kind of had to question that coming in as second-in engines. Did they get a water supply? Did they not? Are they doing this? Or Mayday. Man, the biggest thing I can always say about any of this stuff is we got to watch each other. We got to take care of each other. We got to watch our air. We got to rely on our training. We got to train more. We got to understand the system. We got to understand the buildings. We got to get out and see these things in the good environments. We got to know our first dues. We got to continue to grow our new people so that they can be thinkers and not just doers. And so I think when it comes to Maydays, and again, you guys, I'm close to Brett's, but this isn't even to take anything remote against any family, any fire service, any member that has lost their lives in the line of duty since fire has started, to say that we need to do better and we can do better. And that is why I am in this program this week. And not only that, but my department, my training chiefs, battalion chiefs had the support in me to send me here, because they saw what I can do as, it builds confidence, right? Mm-hmm. So I think with Maydays, I will tell you what I've learned is, and not only from the program, besides I think it's getting better and it's doing better, from talking with the people involved in Brett's Fire, is that we've got to learn from these things. We've got to figure out ways that we can keep our guys safe. My goal is always to get my guys home to their families. And I think, no one wants to hear that, those 3 awful words. And it scares me every time. Even training, I'll be honest with you guys. I've been in the fire service, like I said, 24 years full time. I'm a company officer. I've had my share of stuff, and we're in simulators today, and we have guys calling maydays, and we're in a training, clean and clear environment, and it sticks the hair up on my neck and my skin, and I get goosebumps talking about it. And we're training, and we're trying to learn and be better about it, and how to control and manage these things. And I don't know how Chief Wolf ran that incident. I don't know how someone can be so unbelievably calm and clear and concise, and some of the leadership I've seen throughout my career, it's like that would never happen, and it's going to go wrong right there. You know what I mean? But to hear that and to try to understand the confidence that he had in the ability of running that scene. I mean, a 5-alarm fire. That's never heard of in my time. We're not getting that big. So we used to do a drill in Sedona, and I was a big part of running it. And it was actually a hands-on skill day drill. And we do it every year as a refresher. We'd run and set up. We have an old annex building that used to be an old jail, and I was next to our Station 4. And we'd run Mayday drills, actual hands-on. The component that I liked that you brought up today was that you simmed and you went and did. That kind of wasn't there yet. It was Rick. It was rapid. It was this. 2 guys are going to go in. 2 guys are going to get them out. It's that thinking still, right? So we trained and did what we did with what we knew, right? To the greatest that we could at that point by learning and getting out and getting be able to do these things. So we put on a drill every year, and it was all the engines went through it, all the companies went through it. We'd simulate the same kind of stuff, collapse or fall through a floor or anything, firefighter down, missing, mayday call, mayday on the training. We do everything training, but just again a training environment where everything was safe. We made it difficult because we want the guys to work. We don't want them to have a little stress. We want them to get using air. We want them to make it difficult, and just the emotions that as I was proctoring, I was always the proctor down on the firefighter and working with the crews down there if I started seeing stuff or unsafe things or anything like that. And I mean, I literally saw guys grabbing each other's coats, ready to fist, just the emotions from a training. And I always, luckily, and thank God, I have never had a Mayday in our department that I've been nothing, and I don't want one, but learning and trying to see that environment in a controlled environment to if it ever really happened. What's going to happen really? Is this just going to go awry and we're going to be 13, 14 Maydays in, or are we going to be, so this program, and today I was so honored to sit in this program, and today especially because I was really excited about today. We talked about it yesterday when we did a change in strategy tactic, defense to offensive. We don't do that stuff a lot. We don't train on that stuff a lot, and that's one component that can cause problems too, right? That change strategy. Maybe I didn't hear it. Maybe I'm too close. Why are we in? Why are we doing what we're doing? Mayday. I was so excited to be a part of this program, or today. This is what I was really excited about, is to learn from these guys, to learn from the program, and to hopefully be able to be as calm as Chief Wolf was if this ever happens. And so to keep my head, to keep the calmness, to keep the respect for the system. And that's what Blue Card, I think, is a system. I've never seen anything like this in my career. You learn a little bit of IC stuff, maybe going through a fire book, and then it was just kind of department's whims or department's way. And so today really brought home for me how nervous we were as students. I'll just even speak for me, to being instructed by some really well-versed and experienced people that have done multiple of these programs. I'm sure you guys have seen them all, seen all types. That's a nerving component to it. But then to be the guy on the radio, go, man, if this was real, I just screwed that up. That just made this work. And thinking about that, right? Trying to, because we said it the other day, everybody wants to sound good on a radio. I mean, I want to sound good. I want to sound like I know what I'm doing. And sometimes those things, little something happens, and that just all went out the door. And so I think from your question, the Mayday aspect of it resonates with me, not only because I'm close to it, but I think we can continue to do better, continue to learn from these things, continue to be humble enough as a fire organization across the nation to say we can do better. We can learn new techniques. It's okay to change when we need to change. If things are working and they're working well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But if they aren't, it isn't working, we need to be humble enough as an organization, as a fire district, or as a fire family across the nation. We have got to be humble to, and I'm not saying that we don't. I'm not saying, and I don't want to sit here and take anything, because I know there's big departments that.
Well, we're always fighting against that,
Yeah.
right? Human beings we're always fighting against that, our ego a little bit, and our comfort and our experience and there's things that get in the way of us getting better. I think you're doing a great job of explaining that.
Well, I appreciate that. The last thing I ever want to do is, please, I hope anybody does hear this, I am not at all trying to pull a shadow on anybody. I think everybody out there is trying to do the best they can with what they have and what system they're in and what's going on in their little circle. But I think we can do better, and I think we can do that by coming to programs, learning different techniques, hearing different people, listen to different podcasts, listen to what's out there. Sedona is a little circle of the world, a little bitty circle, a fingernail of it. So the opportunities that I get to grow is either by experience, going, wow, that went wrong, or we're not doing that one again, or getting out and learning from the people that have done it and are there and are bigger and are busier. So I will tell you, to answer your question, I don't ever want to hear a Mayday in the real life. Now, I do feel that more training, more taking this and not just leaving it on the shelf, but learning and using it and teaching it to my department, and being a facilitator for it and learning more for it, get more comfortable with the program, all the aspects of it, to hopefully grow that when that does, if it does, that we are prepared for the event itself by hopefully getting our guy out of there, not getting more guys into trouble, and being able to then have a program or a process to take care of the families afterwards. Because there's something else too that I always thought about, is like, Chief Wolf. I'll use Chief Wolf, and this goes for any battalion, any IC, anybody that's ever had to deal, and I know there's hundreds of them a year. Mm-hmm. Do we do a good enough job saying, hey, are you okay? You're the one outside. You're not the one in there sweating, and I get that. Okay, I'm not taking nothing against IC. Are we? I know we do. I know this. I know the answer to this, but it's always resonated me. It's like, I could not imagine going home that night as that IC and going, wow, what just happened? And I'm not talking for Chief Wolf. I'm talking for me in that perspective. Going, we just lost a brother, a fireman, or I can't imagine the stress, the hurt, the questioning of yourself. Did we do this? Did I do this right? In that second thought process. And do we do enough? Do we do a good job taking care of those guys? Making sure they're okay. I can't imagine being the guy that's in charge of the whole entire thing, and things are going bad left and right, and it keeps compiling and keeps compiling. The only way you can succeed with that is by staying calm, do what your job, put people in place, keep your system working, and knowing at the end of the day, just like when we show up on any kind of our calls, that we're there for Mrs. Smith, and we're doing the best that we can with the abilities and capabilities that we have. and believing that when we leave the scene, that we didn't leave anything on the table or the shelf saying, man, we missed that one, should have done that better. We do. We will question ourselves all the time because we have pride. But I just, my heart goes out to these battalions and these ICs and these divisions and these, you know, the people. That was a very impactful across the nation. Again, 100 of them are average a year, but just making sure they're okay. You know, making sure that all people involved. Because I can imagine, because I'm on the floor, I'm on the truck, I step off, put my boots on the ground, and go to work. So I know, in an aspect, I've never had to deal with one, but I can kind of perspective myself into what I would feel like, right? If I was even involved in the scene or there, or I was, you know. But and what do I get when I get to go home to my shift, my station, and I get to bounce stuff off the table with 4, 5, 6 guys. Hey man, we could have done this. We could have talked about this. We can do this. Hey, what do you guys think here? What do we need to do better? What, right? We can help each other. That's what we do. We sit around that table and we help each other. We talk things out. I see who goes back to his little truck and he drives. You know what I mean? And I know it's not that small, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, but it is different. You're 100% right. And to your point, just like everything else in the fire service, we can do better with supporting those ICs. We can do better with supporting really everybody that has something to do with tragedy or difficult incidents, and thankfully there's a lot of folks in the fire service that are working on it. But you're 100% right. At every level of an organization, in every position, we can do better, right? And that's the key, is trying to figure out how to do better. And pushing towards that. I agree with you.
Not being ashamed to do better.
Yeah.
Right? Not being too prideful to say we can do better. Hey, you know what? We tried to be better here. It didn't work. Let's rebrand it again. And we don't want to go back to a circle, but you know what I mean? We need to keep moving down that road.
100%.
This works, this doesn't. How much equipment have you guys seen in your careers that have come in and come out? And then there's some cool stuff that we have that it's probably going to be around for a long time. I mean, our turnouts are changing. Our trucks are changing. Our calls are changing. So we have to adapt to that. I mean, we got EV cars and stuff now. I mean, you didn't see that 30 years ago. And so we have to adapt. And not only that, you guys, the generational changes that we have in workforce, that's a huge piece of it. And if you don't have your old, callous, crusty, salty guys and they're teaching these new people, they're the guys that will walk over trash and just not have a bad day about it at all. Where our generation, man, we picked up trash. We took cover of ourselves. We're prideful. And we got to keep teaching that stuff, because if we're gone and we're all going to hang our hats up in helmets or whatever you want to call it someday, who's teaching them? What's that department going to become? And we have to, I'll say it, we have to leave some of our legacy there. And that is by, again, go back to training, go back to sometimes having those hard conversations. And I had some company officers growing up through my ranks or my career. They flat told you how they were right there. Mm-hmm. And you know what I did? I embraced it. I didn't go home and cry. I didn't, I needed to hear it, and I needed to hear it that way probably. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll go a step further, because as a fire chief, there aren't too many company officers or chief officers. I think there's a lot of chief officers that were very honest with me. I didn't get a lot from the captains sometimes because they were guarded for whatever reason. You know, the prior chief wouldn't accept it or whatever. So I think having the conversation like you're having here today and modeling the fact that you've come in here without any guard up and sharing, that's really what we all should do, because we could all benefit from having that kind of authentic communication where we're not holding back, we're being respectful, but we're telling the truth, and without those barriers. So I appreciate your candidness today, because it's really it's refreshing, because we don't get it a lot.
Well, how many times do you get told? I was at a AFCA, Arizona Fire Chief Association conference, this last one, and an unbelievable conference, by the way. I really had a good time. I met a lot of fire chiefs, and it was really cool. And I was talking to one of the fire chiefs, and he asked me what my rank was. You know, like, what's your position? And I said, just captain. Man, he looked at me and he goes, no, I mean, you're not just a captain. That's the most important position in the fire op, in the house.
Agreed.
Or in the department, however you want to say, organization. But back to what you just stated is that your captains were kind of guarded. But then you're told on one aspect that you're the most important position in the in the organization. Then you got to talk. Somebody's got to break that barrier down, because if you don't know what your captains are doing, they're the face that people see when they leave, they pay. You know what I mean? The first people that see you are your patients, or your
You
people.
might as well be the fire chief to the community, because when you show up and you're helping the people, you're the person in charge. You're the most powerful person in the fire department to them, right? So that's huge.
It is their worst day. They're calling you to try to take care of it, mitigate it, right? And what that, to me, what I think what it means, like, we can just talk about micromanagement. Micromanagement, to me, all of micromanagement is a lack of trust.
Yes.
That's all. That's how I sum it up. I mean, you can look up, type in leadership and get a definition. There's 1,000 different ways to answer it, right? Micromanagement is, I don't trust you to do what I'm telling you to do, so I'm going to make sure you're doing it the way I want you to do it. Instead of teaching me.
Yeah, I don't trust myself.
I don't trust myself
to teach you.
So I wanted to done it that way, or however that is. But you know what I mean? You know where I'm going?
Totally,
it's like you can't. You gotta trust your folks, and the same as a company officer just running my house. You have to trust your folks. I have to know what my guys are doing. I'm so close with my crew. They'll come in and I can say, "You okay today?" Because I have that relationship with my crew. Because I believe in my crew and I love my crew, and we have to be able to recognize those things, because we're type A personality guys, right? Sometimes we wear our stuff really deep inside. We don't wear it outside a lot. You know what I mean? And you have to recognize that. If I don't trust what's going on with my crew, if there's problems, first thing I'm going to be is their advocate. I'm going to be there to help them do any way I can within my legal realm, right? But it's the same from firefighter to engineer in our system, but all the way through the ranks. And we have to talk. We have to be on the same page. We have to understand. If we don't know the mission, if we don't know the dream that the fire chief wants, then we're just running around with our heads cut off. You kind of, tones go off. If it's major, hit me on the pager, we're going out the door. And when trucks are rolling, 99% of the time, they're doing good jobs. You know what I mean? You don't really ever see that being the big problem. I mean, there's always something. But it's that if I don't know the mission and I don't know the dream, then what am I? I'm just going to work to be a worker. And you know what I mean? So we got to understand that part of it, because I'm not a fire chief. I've never been a fire chief, but I can only imagine. We were talking about it today at lunch, and I'm going to tell you guys something else about V-Shift and any program that I've ever had the opportunity to attend, is the networking. You talk about what we're learning, what you guys have filled our cups up with on educational pieces in the program, but the networking that you get. I mean, I'm with guys today from all around the country, and it's funny talking to these individuals, and it's like, that's the same problem we deal with. But
same characters, different names.
Yeah.
Oh man, and you can attach those faces to it, right?
We always say it's the same 11 people at every fire department. You've got the same personality.
Yeah, we call it the 10%ers out of the 90.
Yeah.
90 want to do a good job and be good guys, and 10% bring it down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but you have to be on that page. You have to follow that mission. You got to understand the mission. And I really believe that when Chief Brunacini had this happen under his watch, that he needed to reevaluate the mission. And that's what I do. I truly believe that's what not only did Blue Clark develop from it, but the recovery process, everything that Phoenix went through, was we were heading down this mission, but we've got to change that mission. We got to do better. And like you said it the other day, you flipped it all over. It wasn't that crew. It wasn't that individual. It wasn't that, we got to look at this.
It was the fire service. I mean, that was the way that we were all doing it. And had it not been for the Brett Tarver recovery process that we all know now, I don't know where we would be as a fire service, because Phoenix thought they were hitting it out of the park every time, right? And I don't think they're, and I'm not saying this just because these are the folks we're associated with, but we see anywhere from a cavalier attitude to a protectionist attitude to, that just part of the job, and departments that don't go in depth the way that Phoenix did in the 5-year recovery period, where we all learned so much from it. I mean, I don't know of any other. Now, there are recovery processes out there where we did learn a lot, but when I look at the revolution that happened in the fire service after March 14th, 2001, it's incredible. I wish it didn't happen. I'm sure you wish it didn't happen.
For sure.
But what we learned out of it has just been immeasurable. I don't know how many more line of duty deaths if nobody looked at really, maximum entry depths, having a tactical reserve. Let's manage our air. Let's not add 400 feet of 1.5-inch hose. And although there's still places doing it, we got a lot better because of it.
I cannot disagree with you at all. 100% spot on.
Is there any other questions that you'd want to ask?
No, I don't think so. I think you've done a great job of kind of going through that stuff. I feel pretty comfortable and confident, with, what you've represented. I think it's fantastic.
Is there anything else you want to say about, either Brett or your whole process of getting here and what it's meant?
The only thing I can say is it's an honor to be here talking with both of you. I mean that. Bottom of my heart, I mean that. And every time I get to talk about my brother, he's still there, right? He's still here, and he's still in here. So having these opportunities and discussing it and to get to know who he was as a person, as a fireman, as a family man, is an absolute honor to be able to share that with you guys. I hope we had. I feel like it was a great conversation.
Oh, I do too. Absolutely.
I think we could probably take notes, and we probably could start up a whole bunch of different avenues that we talked about. But no, I really appreciate this opportunity. It's an honor to be here with you, John. I thank you. I really appreciate being able to share.
Well, thanks for your time and your candor and sharing with us, because it's. When we met on Monday, I reached out to Chris and I was like, I think I want to ask him to be on the podcast. He's like, that's a great idea, and I'm really glad you took us up on this and you came in and hung out with us. And it's been great having you in class. I mean, you're a great communicator and an authentic person, so we really appreciate that, Jarrett.
I'm humbled for you to say. Thank you for asking. I know sometimes that can be kind of hard, right? Should I ask? Man, I'm so humbled that you asked, and I really appreciate this opportunity.
Before we go, do you want to do a timeless tactical truth from Alan Brunacini?
You bet.
All right, let's do it. This timeless tactical truth from Alan Brunacini: we're naturally geared to go forward. We don't retreat well. We must practice the tactical agility of making U-turns when necessary. It's kind of like the lumberman fire you were talking about. So we commit so much, then we don't do anything to revise our incident action plan, and we lock in on that incident action plan. Do you have any thoughts on that truth?
I 100%. I think what you just said on it is the truth. Our job, our belief, our everything that's inside of us tells us to go in there, stay in there, fight the fight. We're just a little bit more, just a little bit more. When my red lights flash, a little bit more, just a little bit more. And we have to start recognizing that if I'm 50% in, I better use 50% to get out. And we need to recognize those factors, those tactical priorities, all those things early. We got to have good eyes outside. Good people in command positions to be able to watch those things for us outside, relying on our engineers and our pump men that are outside for us too, and being our eyes at our first in engines and stuff. And I think by recognizing those scenes and recognizing conditions, understanding the what ifs. If I'm doing this, what happens here? Or if I'm doing this, I better have something to back it up. So I think making a U-turn doesn't make you a coward, doesn't make you any less of a fireman. It makes you a smart fireman. It makes you a more prepared and a better person to recognize and be humble that I need to turn around here. We need to leave. Something is not right. So I think we've got to be able to keep instilling and keep learning and keep growing to recognize the problems that are faced in front of us and then addressing them and being able to say, you know what, it's not working. It's time to pull out.
Jarrett Tarver, thank you so much for spending time with us today here on the Bee Shifter podcast. It's been an honor, and looking forward to spending more time in class with you tomorrow, and hopefully we can have you back sometime. Yeah. We're not that far from Sedona.
Anytime. Right. It's an hour drive. So,
right.
Yeah, it's been humbled. I'm honored to be here, and thank you so much for asking, and thank you for your time and your instruction this week.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. And thank everyone for listening and being with us today on the Bee Shifter podcast. We'll talk to you again next week.